What's going on, everybody? Alex here. Just saying hi. I wanted to take a minute to talk about the Legendary Creator tier. You know, it's a new one, and it's a little bit different than I think a lot of Patreon tiers, so I thought I might chat about what it's all about. Obviously, there's all the weapon models that are in there, and we'll be adding weapon models every release. You know, the models that show up on the characters I'll include in the next package, and also if I happen to have some cards that lend themselves well to a model, which most of them do, I would say, I'll add those as well. So there's going to be a few more models every release, and there's also going to be, in addition to this backlog of card artwork, you know, and maybe we should maybe I'll just get into it rather than talk about it here, because we've been kind of hanging out on this page a while. Yeah, so I do have the cards open, and I want to talk about the artwork that's in here, as I said, but I also want to just chat about how, you know, how things kind of work and how I go about just organizing the scene and what you can expect. So you'll see everything is laid out here on the right hand side. I'll collapse everything. So when you'll notice some colors on the left here, basically everything that's like kind of contains some graphics, I added a color to. So there's some graphic options in here. Some of this is pretty straightforward, I think. Again, you know, maybe I should mention before we get into this, the text here is you do need to install that font that's included with the in the link. So just right click that, install it real quick, and everything should appear like this when you boot it up for the first time. If not, let me know, and we'll figure out kinks. Maybe there's a weird, you know, version of Photoshop or something. As you can see, I'm kind of on an older version of Photoshop, so you might even be you might even have like more recent, and so everything should move forward. You know, generally in software, files like this, they move forward better than they move backwards. Regardless of all that, Photoshop is super good about being backwards compatible, so let's just get into it here. Yeah, you got your item name, whatever you like. Again, the description, usually, this is, I mean, you guys do this however you want to, but I usually do like a really quick intro here, something that's like, in as short as possible, just briefly kind of describing the item, you know, just like the feeling of the item, I guess. Don't try to do too much on the front. I think it's really, for me, it's like, it's just because we have the back for that, is a place to put flavor text. And if you want to call out, I always like try to sneak in what kind of damage an item might do if it's a blade or something like that. You know, I will try to get it in there for a quick reference, just so that you're not always having to like refer to the other sheet if you're playing the game. And I don't know, some of the really basic stuff I feel like I can just put on the front. So if it makes sense, put it on here. If not, get into it on the back. This down here, I'll zoom in a little bit. I mean, okay, well, let's start here. We got the weight, obviously. This is pretty simple. This is, I usually list this in pounds, and you're not going to really have an item that's more than, you know, 99 pounds. I mean, that'd be pretty crazy, right? Gold is another, the value, I mean, and I'm just control clicking to get from layer to layer here. That's maybe, you know, something that is a handy trick. Just control click and it'll take you wherever you need to be, so you don't even really have to pay attention too much to how everything's laid out. But yeah, this gold value, because, you know, gold, you can have like thousands of gold, right, and it doesn't necessarily fit on here, and that's when I usually just condense it to, like, you know, 2K, something like that, or if I really need to break it down, like 2.3K, or you might need to expand this a little bit. And feel free even to, like, some things you'll notice on some I'll do on some cards is I'll even just take this size down a little bit, and just kind of nudge it into place again, just so that you can really, I find, yeah, with the gold, it is sometimes just takes a bit of thought and massaging to get it to where you want to be. But I think at the end of the day, it's worth it kind of having it in this layout, even though you do have to compress the text sometimes. So I'm gonna, oops, let me just step back here. I'm gonna put this back to where I had it. Same thing down here. On the left, I usually do any kind of damage or any kind of, I guess, kind of maybe dice info you could put in here if there's like something else you're doing with the dice. But feel free to edit this to your liking. It's pretty rare that an item uses a d20, but that's what I started us off with. And again, there's graphics for every dice type. I used to just show the die image and wouldn't put the one, you know, d20. I would kind of, I'd skip the whole d20 part. But I realized, you know, it's just easier to have the text, and I have the space to do it. So like 1d20 plus 1, I mean, it's pretty much, it's rare you're going to have a longer, like more information here than that. And this right hand side I think is a good spot to overflow some of that information, which I do sometimes too. Like if it's a versatile weapon and you have some info over here that you want for an alternate kind of attack that has a different damage roll that you want to quickly refer to, feel free to put that here. Typically though, I do list range here, but on the odd time I will say if a weapon needs to be two-handed, I'll also put that graphic here sometimes, and like usually those don't have a range attached to them, but if they do, there's nothing to stop us from just again nudging this over a little bit. So you do have to kind of like format things a little bit depending on what you want to get out of the card, you know. And if there's a weird cases that doesn't fit, you know, just feel free to get creative with it, you know, whatever you think works. Lastly, on the front here, we've got the Arcana. This could be anything, obviously, whatever stat you want to buff here, or ability score you want to buff here. It's pretty rare I do this on cards, but sometimes if you want to do it, it's here for that. Yeah, so I guess let's get into, before we move to the back side, just talk about the all the art we have in here. We've got all the art from every release, so you can take it and make your own version of it, or like you could, I don't know, enchant an existing weapon and alter it, or just take the art and make your own, whatever you like, right? You know, maybe you combine the two or something, maybe not. But have fun with this stuff. And I did add at the bottom, once we get down all the way, I think the last one, yeah, so we've got, yeah, some more recent stuff, the Reanimation Masters Scepter here, and then I've got a list of kind of new artwork. Well, I guess new to backers, but this is stuff I've done prior to Patreon that I had kicking around, and yeah, I have more. I just need to go back and dig it up and polish it up a little bit so that it's ready. There's an interesting sword here, and I think, yeah, as we go, I'll be adding a lot more here. So yeah, if there's something that you wanted to do that wasn't in any of the releases so far, have a look at the bottom of the orange art stack here, and pick something, yeah, that works for whatever you got going on there. Or again, just if you got some art, drag it in. As long as you drag it into this item art folder, there's this mask here that will, you know, cut everything out for you, so you don't have to worry about your item, you know, showing up, you know, behind a layer or whatever like that. So, which could be annoying. So, yeah. So that's the item art, and then all the backgrounds are here. And I added the sewers, which is kind of like, it's from an older piece that's there's a figure that's on Thingiverse that has an illustration. Actually, I don't know if I uploaded the illustration to that one, but anyway, there's an illustration for one of my Thingiverse figures that really predates all the work I've done on Patreon. And so I included the sewers background from that one, from that character, which is named Sam. I think his just name is Sam, that character. He's kind of a warrior guy with a big knife. Anyway, so if you're interested, head over to Thingiverse and download that guy too. Yeah, he's totally free over there. So yeah, that's the front of the card. Have a lot of fun with it. The back is much simpler. Again, if you've been here for a few releases, you know that the art usually isn't this big. I just kind of ported everything over here. I cleaned out, like I didn't include the text that I wrote for these because I want you guys, I mean, it's for you to write your own, right? Obviously. So I just dumped the art in before scaling it, really. So some of these are going to be kind of big, right? So feel free to write as much as you want. Like, let's just, what I do sometimes, let's say, I mean, usually I start off with a bit of kind of setting, introductory, not a lot of gameplay, just kind of some flavor at the top, just to get us kind of the mood, what the DM might say about the item. And then let's just pretend that this text here is kind of like really describing the gameplay. And sometimes it takes a while to get to like really describe all this gameplay. So let's say you've got, I mean, maybe you want to do the club, but let's pick an interesting one. I like this other more wilder club. So feel free to, what I often do, you'll notice this, is like kind of scale it to the size I like. Again, this is more about the description, less about the art. I think like the art is really for the front of the card, so I'll scale it down sometimes. But if there's a long weapon like a sword or something, I do try to show the entire sword because you don't get to see it on the front. So just keep that in mind. And then it's really, you know, nothing crazy complicated here. I just come in, and after I've written my spiel about the weapon, I just come in and like, yeah, just kind of space around it, and hopefully what I've written, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of times I've written things out and I get to the bottom and I realize I've kind of run out of space, and it's not as much of a downer as you would think, because I go back and I read the top and I'm like, do I really need this this descriptor? Does this, maybe the sentence could be condensed a little bit more and said a little bit more concisely. So I find a lot of the time, if I can't explain what my item does back here, I don't have my idea totally figured out, I feel like. So just keep that in mind. And you can always nudge the item, and if you really want to get more in, just, you know, scale it down a little bit. But then, yeah, so this is kind of what it might look like back here, and that's really the approach. In the odd case, let's take this halberd for example. You've got a really strange long weapon here. So what I might do for this one is actually, I've left all these layers kind of active here, and I'm control clicking again, and if you hit Control T you can kind of reshape things. And what I'll sometimes do if I really need to is just move these around. If you know, use the type tool here obviously, and it gives you an option to just nudge things over, so you can do this, or you can do what we were doing before a little bit and start to create paragraph spaces around the item so that you can really frame the whole piece on the card, which I think is really cool to do, and I think I Now I was center this, and it's like, oh shoot, okay, maybe it'd be better if I do it like that. So that's it. That's all I wanted to say, just to make it really clear for everybody. I hope this helped. For those of you that have already jumped on the tier, thanks a lot. There's a few people in there already. We got Anthony Bechtel, Eric Hansen, Zachary Monaghan. Thank you guys for jumping on this tier right away. Really appreciate it. Happy to hear your feedback. But I'm appreciative to everybody who's joining me along in this. It's really humbling and stuff to be doing this artwork with everybody. So and of course, just reach out to me if you have any ideas or if anything is not making sense, and I'll just get back to you, and we'll take it from there. Really excited to see what you guys come up with. Please share it if you do have a cool homebrew. Would love to see it. Love to reshare it on Instagram. I think that would be really fun. So that's all I'm going to say. Thanks again, everybody, and we will catch you later. Ciao.